Hi, Mark here, trust you're well, and welcome to this week's recording of a live skills and support session that I hosted on Monday the 23rd of March 2026. This was the final week in 3 that we visited the tone curve and where I explored a few of the communities and my images, totally editing just using the tone curve. And then we continued on and we looked at the colour mixer tool, concluding our time together with your challenges, your questions for this week. If you'd like to come and join us live, just visit lightroommark.com, and below the introductory video is our upcoming events. If you click in the menu, all events, you'll see all the narratives for the remainder of 2026. And if you today need support, perhaps help with workflow, or you've got some challenges with Lightroom and Lightroom Classic, just click on the support button. Now, without any further ado, let's jump across to the recording, and happy editing. Right, good evening everybody. This week's our last week of looking at the tone curve. So I said that we would just edit images using the tone curve. So we're going to look at that. And then, as I did hinted last week, we're going to look at the color mixer tool for the short, because they are connected when you start looking at the tone curve RGB channels, and you can affect the color. So as I've keep saying so many times, my learning style is to show you what the tool does and allow you to consider what tool to use in your workflow. I have no right in telling you you've got to do it this way. I see so many trainers, you must do it this way, I do it this way, and this is the way you're going to do it. And I think that's totally wrong. It's a good educator shows you what the tool does, shows you what the tool can do and how you could use it. Well, there are so many different ways that you can affect color. So I'm putting those two bits together. We're going to edit an image using the tone curve, or a couple of images, and then we're going to look at the color in the tone curve, which is what we did last week. But then I'm going to show you in the short color mixer tool, and then it's over to your questions. Lightroom Classic, I'm in a couple of collections, and I wanted to show you something before we looked at the tone curve. We can see that I've got these images here. I've got one image here and one image here. But if I go to this other collection, I've got the images here as well. So this image here and this image here. And then if I go back to the other collection, I've got this image here and this image here. However, they visually look the same, but they're not. This is the original image. There's no turnover in the corner. I go to this collection, which is I'm going to use in the second part of our time together. There's a turnover here, turnover here. Can anyone shout out what the difference is?
Virtual copy.
Yeah, they're virtual copies. So they are independent images. Okay. What I do to this image and this image, okay, will not affect this image and this image. Okay. They are lines in the database. They are not additional files. You did this in what I call a single image application, for example, Photoshop, you would have to go File, Save As, and you would have a second file and edit it a particular way. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. So Mr. Wilkinson kindly sent in a couple of images. So I'm going to import them. I'm going to show you my import workflow just for tonight. These images were taken on the, David used the same filing structure as what I do. So DW, that's who owns the copyright. 2005 is the year it's taken in, 05, so it's May. So the 7th of May 2005 Then we've got the time, camera, and shutter actuation number, all done within Lightroom. So we've got these two images, and I'm going to import them into this training catalog. And I'm going to do everything, all my digital asset management in one workflow. So fortunately, they were taken on the same day. So that is May, 7th of May. So I've gone to May 2025, May. So that's where the files are going to rest. Okay, that's my destination. I'm going to build a one-to-one preview. That's a faster workflow for me. That's my workflow. So when I look at the previews, I'm looking at the full image. The consequence of doing that compared to your screen resolution size, which might be 4,000 pixels, or 3,000 pixels or 2,000 pixels, whatever your screen size is the file size in your preview file. It's a lot higher, a lot bigger. So in my work catalog with 400,000 images, my preview file is nearly 2 terabytes. A lot of people don't even have that size drive in their Mac. They buy a 1 terabyte Mac drive in there. That's just my previews, 2 terabytes. Then I got my smart previews and so on. So I build a one-to-one preview. I build my smart preview. That means I can edit it wherever I am. I always look for don't import duplicates. And in this case, I'm going to add to a collection. What collection I'm going to add it to is the collection that I'm working in tonight, which is down here, which is the tone curve collection. So I'm doing all this. It's one methodical workflow. I don't need to rename because they're David's ones. What do I want to do in import? During the import, what do I want to do? Well, David will in some. So I've keyworded it with his name, so I know they're here images. That's Kingfisher. Now, if these keywords were already in my list, they would come up blue. And I think the other one is a heron, I
Uh,
think.
it's
Yeah,
a bitten.
bitten. It's double T or single
Double
T?
T
Double T.
ERN.
Bitten. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So wildlife. And wildlife is actually in my keywords, but for some reason it's a title. So I now want to put, because capital letter at the start of my keywords, it says it's a title to a hierarchical or sub-hierarchical list. And I don't want to use a W because that doesn't get exported, or I don't want to use a word with capital W. In my case, some people, I say to them, capitalize the whole word. And when you split your list up into sections, put a capital W for wildlife at the beginning, so you know it's the title of the list. And normally you wouldn't export that capital word. So lowercase w for wildlife. Okay, it says to me visually straight away it's a key word. It's not a title to a list. Okay. So there we go. I'm just going to import those, and it's going to do all those. It's going to order them, put them in smart collections, put them in the final resting place, add the keywords, build all my previews, everything I want to do. Now, my digital asset management is done. If I have smart collections with wildlife, they're in that smart collection. If that smart collection using SJ's plugin, if that syncs to the cloud, that syncs to the cloud. It is done. I do not have to worry about any of my digital asset management at all. Okay. So finding the images in the future is so much easier. Okay. So even if I go to search any field contains David's surname, there they are. Bitten. Double T, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Bitten. Perhaps I spelled it wrong. There we go. Oh, made a mistake. I applied the keyword bitten to this kingfisher. Okay, so I made a mistake there. So always double check. See, I'm highlighted here. So take off the bitten. That no longer applies. Okay, every time I see a mistake, I correct it. All right. So let's go to our collections tonight, tone curves. Turn off this. So here's some images we're going to look at. Let's look at one of David's first. Okay, so this is his image. D for develop module. Now, one of the first things that I will do, especially if I'm just using the tone curve, and it's the parametric curve, okay, is you have to set your black and white point. So holding the Option Alt key, I'm just going to find my black point, which is about there. So +1. And now I'm going to find my white point. And it's meaningful white. Okay, so there is my black and there is my white point. I've stretched the histogram out. So now I'm just going to come to the tone curve. Here it is. Okay, and now I'm going to sit there and go, right, what do I want to do with this? So I'm going to use the parametric curve. And that means when I adjust the point on this curve, this is a bar graph. Okay, so this is 0, 0, absolute black in the corner of a bar graph. So a bar graph is values of X and Y, X-axis along the bottom, Y-axis along the top. X-axis is the value of light or the value of color, okay? So 0, 0, down in the bottom left-hand corner is 0 black, and there's 0 pixels of black, okay? If I had it right at the top, and I can't do it this one, because I'm in that. If I had it right up here, that will be 100% or of 0 pixels. So everything will be jet black. Then if I come right to the other side, this is pure white, which is value of 255. So in this case, there is no white at 255 or very little. Okay, here. Then if the whole picture was white, pure white, it will be right up here. There will be a bar graph. This mountain will be right up here. Okay, it's 100%. Okay, so pure white is here. Black is here. In the middle is anyone?
Midtones.
Mid-grey.
Middle grey, 50%, which is what it says there. So we're talking about light at the moment. Okay, so these are all values of light. 50%, so that's 25% black, 75% white. Okay, 25 and 75. And these are ranges. So we've got blacks, exposure, highlights, and whites. And we can move the range, so we can control what Lightroom thinks is black and white. Okay, and we can include in a range. So I'm now making the range. So my darks, okay, is a greater range. And if I use the slider of my shadows, sorry, I said darks, I'm increasing my shadows. I'm increasing this range in the shadows. Okay, I'm going to move the range. Okay, so then I go to my highlights, and that's the bit here, and I can minimize the highlights. So the area, the range that's being affected of tonal values is smaller. And again, I can do my lights. And all I'm doing is I'm adjusting using the sliders, the light upon the subject. So I'm using the sliders there. So I'm pressing the Option Alt key, and I hit on the region, it reselects all there. Double click, double click, double click, resets everything. But now I'm going to use the tone curve itself. So I've got my little Wacom tablet, and I'm just going to use the middle point to start with. I'm just going to raise it, just raising up the middle point. So I'm making the middle values of light brighter. And do I want to make, and the darker sections, do I want to make that brighter? So this was really black to start with. And all I've done is 2 clicks. Right, undo, undo. How dark that is there. Okay. Just going to go into the dark zone. I'm just going to bring it up. And I'm going to bring my midtones up. And look at that. Just 2 clicks. How much brighter the subject's here. And this is globally. Okay. Then I might want to bring my highlights down. And just bring my highlights down. And again, I'm doing this globally. Now, a lot of photographers will talk about what they call the S curve. And the S curve is a technical term. This line will be an S shape. But realistically, what are we doing? We are creating an aesthetically pleasing image. I don't care if my S curve is 2 mountains. Oh, sorry, my tone curve is 2 mountains. If that's what it takes to get the image how I want to present it, it doesn't have to be an S curve. Okay, it's our photograph. How are we presenting that photograph? Okay, so I'm just using this tone curve in the parametric, which is ranges. You can see that highlight section. It's affecting it in that range. And if I want to change the range, I can adjust these points here. Okay, and it'll only affect in the range. Okay, all right. And there we go. And then we could, let's turn that off for a second. Right, let's go to snapshot, going to record. All right, so now R, and this is where a lot of times I will play. Okay, so I've done a 16:9 crop. It's my photograph. Well, it's not, it's David's, but yeah, normally I'd say it's my photograph. And all I'm doing at the moment is the tone curve. Okay, I haven't done any finishing, no vignetting, no local adjustments, none of that yet. No, I've just done a crop and we're now so much tighter. So I'm pressing L on the keyboard, that's lights. Press L, you've got 3 times. Press Tab, gets rid of the 2 panels either side, then press L. Press L again. Okay, and then L again, it brings you back. Bring your tab, bring back. Okay, now I will now go to snapshots. On the side, press plus 16:9. That's my crop. But because I created a snapshot is a memory of where I am. There's my original, there's my 16:9. Why do we do that? It's one file. And I could have 20 different crops, but it's one file, not 20 files, it's one file because they are lines in the database. Okay, so there could be my final image. Okay, and I could take this image at this point and do some additional editing to it and then say, so for example, just for an example, I know we're going slightly off topic. I'm going to do a radial filter. I'm just going to do a radial filter, something like that. Just going to turn it slightly. And now I'm going to invert it. Invert. And then I'm just going to bring too much. That. Go back to my filter. Let's make the feather a bit bigger. Then bring my exposure down a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so let's make this a little bit bigger and then make my thing, a bit bigger. There we go, it's a bit better. Now bring that down a tiny bit. Let's put it in there, minus 0.7. See that? See, I've gone, this is 0, 7, right? 6, 5, 4. There we go, 4. Okay, all I've done is I've typed in the box here. I've done 0, so I'm subtracting light, and I'm doing half a stop. I started at 7, too dark. And now I went 6, 5, 4. So 4 is my tone. Okay, now I'm going to go plus on the snapshot, and okay, I've now recorded this point. There's my 16 by, there's my original 16 by 9, and went for it to render. There is it with the mask. Okay, so I've got each place recorded with no mask, with a mask, just very subtle, very, very subtle. And there's the original. Okay, I'll click back in a second. All right, there you go. Okay, so there's one image. Let's go to this image here. Again, it's a raw file. This is one of mine, Exmoor National Park, from one of my workshops. Let's see if we've got anything in the history. Yes, we have. So let's take it back. Let's remove the history. So there is what I took. Okay, so let's go to the point curve. The point curve, I do not need to set my black and white point. I can make 16 points of light on this curve. Okay, so I can tell, let's go to the black point. I can increase some mist, if you want to say, some dehaze, by increasing the black. What is the amount of black at 0? See? Okay, it's made it a bit foggy. Yeah, I can make the blacks richer by increasing the value of black. Takes it away. Okay, midtones I can increase, decrease. Okay, and there's different ways of actually using this. Most of the time, I'll set my black and my white point. So there's my black point. That's what I've set. And I'll go to my whites and I'll bring my whites down a bit. So if you look in the histogram, you can see they're coming down here. And there I go, I'm happy there. Then I'll take the midtones and I'll increase, decrease, bring down the midtones. And then I'll go to the blacks part, bring that down, bring that up. And I'll slide up and down the line till I get to something that I'm looking for. Then I'll go to my highlights. So that's my brighter parts of the image. Okay. Before, after, before, after. Do I like that? Not quite sure. Alt option, reset, start again. I quite like when I started playing oops. Command Z, your favorite friend. And then just come on. Okay. They can bring up the demisty. So make it a bit more mistier. Let's go to the midpoint. Okay. Bring it down. Yeah, quite like that. Let's bring my white point. Bring my white point down. Okay, so I'm reducing my contrast. Another way I can do this is a little target tool. I sometimes call it the pipette tool. Okay, I can go to a value of light. We're only looking at light at the moment. Come to this value of light here. Click on the point that I want to affect, and that's in the middle. And now I can just bring it up, bring it down. Go to this value of light here. And it's, yeah, in the midtone. Bring it up, bring it down. Now, if I wish to do that locally, I come to the mask tool and I can select what I want to adjust. So let's say I just want to adjust this tree. So I'm going to use the object brush. Okay, and I've drawn on it, and AI has given me a mask. I want to add a little bit to it. So I'm going to use the brush tool with the auto mask, and I'm just going to brush in this bit here. It's gone over slightly, it's overbled, so I'm going to subtract, brush, make it a bit smaller, and then just take this bit away. Auto brush is on, so it's only going to do it on the bits that I'm touching. There we go, something like that. Now, a lot of times I would have zoomed in and done that. So there's my mask. And now I'm going to go to the curve. So there's my curve. Let's bring the tool down. Use the pipette tool, turn my overlay off. And now I'm only affecting the tonal value in that mask. Okay, so I'm bringing that tree down in value. And it's only done the tree. Only done the tree. Hasn't affected any other part of the image. And if you look, it hasn't affected this part of the tree because it's a different tonal value. If you look at the tone curve, this bit here, this point here, is this value. If I come up to here, top left-hand corner of the tree, you can see the tonal values at the top. And now I'm going to affect that tonal value here. So I brought the two tonal values down, but just on the tree. So this is how we edit using the tone curve. Okay, so all I'm doing is editing with the tone curve. Now, I might want to take color. That's color channels, red, green, and blue. We are only affecting the red in the tone curve. Okay, the red in the image in the tone curve. All right. So I can either take a point, my point tool, and choose a point, or I can take a light value on the meter. So if I go up, I'm increasing red. So when do you think this picture was taken? Anyone?
Autumn.
Yeah, it's an autumn winter picture. Autumn coming into winter. We've still got some leaves, but it's a bit of brown here. So there's going to be some reds in the cutting out browns, reds. So do I want to amplify those reds? Do I want to bring them away? Okay, so going up goes towards red. Okay, this is a red section here. Bringing it down, oops. Bring it down. We'll bring it towards cyan, which is a mixture of blue and green. Okay, so whatever value I want, I can add or subtract it. Look at the, right? See in the tree? Because I'm doing it in the mask. Okay, so let's go, press the option, reset that thing, right? Because I'm doing it in that mask. Okay, so I'm just affecting here. Right, so let's close that and let's go global. Tone curves. And now we're going to do the red channel in the whole image. Go up, okay, come down. Right, and now we're affecting, and you in the darker parts, we're adding green or with cyan. Okay, the red parts in the darker, it's redder. And these are all we do subtly. The brighter parts, add red, the brighter parts, bring red away from the lighter parts. Okay, then we have the green channel. Do I want to add green or do I want to add magenta? Magenta is red and blue. It's a mixture of. So if I want to increase my mid values of green, see, or do I want to, so Davey was talking about the other week about his subtly adjusting his green. But if I take green away, you can see green is coming out of the image. It's going a little bit darker. Darker tones of green. Okay. I'm reducing them. The brighter tones of green, increasing them, decreasing them. See the subtle differences. And they are small adjustments, 10% maximum. Because if you do more, then you're increasing first noise, but secondly, it looks weird, put it bluntly. And then we have blue, the blue channel. What does blue do in a color, in light? Anyone?
Makes it cold.
Yeah, cold. So this is one way of doing it. There are other ways of doing it. We can do it in the color grading tool, right? So see, it's gone bluer. I can take blue away, which goes towards yellow and green. Okay. And this is the darker tones. Okay. In the highlights. Add green, add blue in the highlights. Make the highlights colder. So it's a cold, frosty morning. Okay. So I could do that, go back to my, and now start increase. All right. So I've made it now a little bit mistier in the dark point. So using a bit of blue, making it colder, de-contrasting it, taking some contrast away by using the tone curve. And again, people say, oh, you must do it this way. You must. No, it's your image. Learn what the tool does. Experiment with the tool. Create a second catalog. Okay. And just put some copies. Go to your Finder, find some of your favorite images, copy the files, put them in a separate folder, call it test, call it demo, call it play, whatever you want. Make a second catalog and use it as play with them. And that's one thing we used to do when I used to do this in person on a Monday night. We used to have a training catalog. The only thing you won't be able to do is do it in the cloud. You can only have one catalog in the cloud at one time. And choose those 12 favorite images and just play, because you're not affecting your main catalog and you're not affecting your images because you've copied the images. You've got those, put them on your desktop, the images into a folder. Okay.
If they were in Lightroom, Mark, that means then that any other same image would you change all the existing same images, correct? Or am I?
So let's just clarify what you mean. If you're editing in Lightroom,
Yeah.
as in on your phone or whatever,
And if you're in Classic
yeah,
and you chose 2 or 3 pictures from your catalog and then change them, if they're
yeah,
already in Classic, they would, if they were the actual image, they would change that as well, wouldn't they?
correct. Yeah, that's why I said copy your files, put them on your desktop in a folder called test or training or play or something like that, and they're separate files. And then create a new catalog and use those files that are in that additional um, folder on your desktop. Yeah. So the reason why you put it on desktop is away from your main images, and they're just right click copy. Okay. Does that
When you bring
explain what you
them back
mean?
into Mark, when you bring them back into Lightroom, though,
Hmm.
Classic, would that not recognise them?
No, because you're keeping them totally separate. You're creating a second file that is not connected to your original file. So you're going to so go to this. So you're going to go click here, show in Finder. You're going to copy that file. Okay, Command C. You're going to go to your desktop. You're going to create a new folder, call it test images. Okay, and you're going to paste it in there. And now that file there has got nothing to do with this file here. And then I'm going to create a new catalog. So file, new catalog, and I'm going to use this file here. Nothing to do with the file that's on my screen in front of me. Nothing to do with this is because all the adjustments that I'm doing are in the catalog. They're not on the file. They're in the catalog. All this is stored in the catalog. It's got nothing to do with the file until you go file export. It brings all the ingredients, the recipe of all your edits and your metadata, and creates a new file and then makes that new file. Yeah. So by having a separate unassociated file in a different catalog will not contaminate your main catalog edits.
Right.
Because it's a different recipe book One recipe book is by Jamie Oliver. Another one is by, I can't think of another chef. But anyway, another chef. Yeah. Sorry, chefs. I can't think of another chef off the top of my head. What's the one from Cornwall? Just all seafood. Rick Stein.
Rick
Rick
Stein.
Stein.
Yeah, Rick Stein. So Jamie Oliver's book and Rick Stein's books, they might have the same ingredients, but their recipes totally different.
Here's what I found.
Okay, totally different. Yeah. So the catalogs are related to their kitchens and their ingredients, the photograph. The recipes are your catalogue, and it's referencing the ingredients, the file, and it's different ingredients and different recipes, so they're not contaminating each other. Jamie Oliver's on that desk over there in that part of the kitchen, and Rick Stein's over that part of the kitchen on that desk, and never the two meet until they come to the TV cameras in the middle showing what they've made. And that's when you put two images side by side and say, which one do I prefer? In preview mode in the operating system, not in Lightroom. Okay? Yes, David?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah? So, because you're creating a copy of the file and nothing is applied to the file. Okay?
Yeah.
Right. Shall I choose another image to edit? And tone curve? Let's go and have a look at this one. Okay, so D for develop. And am I happy with my black point? Am I happy with my white point? Am I going to use the parametric curve? These are questions I ask myself each time. What do I want to do with this image? This was just as an image. I like the shape of this bush, this tree, this plant, and I like the highlights. So what am I going to do in the tone curve? I don't quite know. Let's just use the parametric curve. Let's bring the highlights up. Let's use the sliders. Yeah, I'm just bringing up, because how does the eye work? I've said this several times. The eye and the brain work together in immediacy. It looks at the brightest part of the image. It looks at the color red. It looks at what's in focus. Next week, in the short, we're going to look at the lens blur. I'm going to show you some techniques for lens blur. All right? How to control the viewer, even though you might have a shallow depth of field on your lens, how to amplify it even more. All right? So we're looking at this. Your eye, when you look at this, will immediately, this has gone up in value slightly, and this has gone up in value. So if we wanted to, we could bring the blacks up or the blacks down. So let's bring the shadows down. Right, so our eye is now more drawn to this part of the image than this part of the image. Before, after, before, after. Very subtle. I've just done two things. That's all I've done. Let's take the midtones. Midtones up, midtones down, midtones up. Okay. Before, after, before, after. Backslash key. It's the key next to your return key on your keyboard, goes from top left to bottom right, diagonally. Top left, bottom right, diagonally, like this. Okay? That's what that is. That's what that, yeah? Well, you can do Y before and after. This is what I started with. This is where I am. Okay? All right? And you can actually set your before and after point. So you can actually set in here. So if I wanted this point here to be my before and after, there we go, look, step here. At the moment, default is at the beginning. But if I only wanted to jump back, when I did before and after to this point, I go right click, step point before. So it would only jump back to this point here. So when I do that, it'll only jump back those 3 steps. Go back to here. If I want it to go back to there, I set to go right click, middle one, setting to before. That's the point set. Now it'll do it from there. Okay, before and after. All right. Y is the side by side. Okay. That's where I am. before, after, before, after. And all I've done, look at that curve now. It's only tinily moved. Okay, let's say take up, yeah, bring down the darks a bit. Okay, I'm pushing the contrast. Okay, before, after, before, after. Is this too bright? Have I blown this out? Can look up here, I've blown it out slightly. Let's bring the whites down. Okay, before, after, before, after, before. Yeah, that backslash key is one of your friends. Yeah, is it too bright? Don't know. Your choice. Right, greens. David was talking about greens the other week. Right, so go into the green channel. Want to take greens away. Want to bring those greens down. There we go. All I've gone is to the midpoint. I knew from experience roughly where to hit this. Never done this image before. Knew roughly where to start. I could Command Z, go back, go to my color picker, choose something that's roughly in the middle. And there we go. Literally. All I've done is I've clicked here. I could go here, increase, decrease, increase, decrease. So I'm just using the target tool that I affectionately use, the pipette tool. It's a term from the color picker tool. Right. I could create a mask. So let's do a radial mask. All right. Something like that. Going to affect inside 100%. So I want to make that bigger. So there we go. I'm now going to invert that. So I'm going to do the outside of it. So now I want to focus the eye more because it's quite light around the background. I want to focus the viewer to look at the eye. I'm going to use too much. There we go. I've just taken the background down slightly. So my eye is now looking at the middle. I could take that mask, duplicate and invert it. So now I'm going to do inside. Okay, and again, I'm going to use the tool, the tone curve, and just probably do it by hand. There we go. Before, after, before, after. Bit too bright, maybe, maybe not. Depends on your way you like it. It's up to you. Okay, go back to the tone curve. And I use term dancing. I'm dancing between tools, adjusting one to get one effect. There we go. Going back and adjusting, tweaking the other. And there we go. And then could just finally go into the detail panel and we're going effects, that's where I wanted to go. And then just put a global vignette on it. And there we go. Before, after. Very, very subtle. If you look at the background, slightly darker, slightly brighter in the foreground. My eyes are drawn here and here rather than around the background. That to me personally on my screen looks very busy. This, my eyes are more focused here. And it's an opinion. It's not right or wrong. It's an opinion. Anyone, any questions?
No? Yeah.
It's a tool that you have to play with. It's a secret recipe, magic sauce. You know, the Kentucky Fried Chicken savory. You know, that magic recipe they put. You know, that secret sauce. That sauce that is Heinz tomato sauce or HP brown sauce or whatever. It's that secret sauce. Hi, Thomas.
Possibly two questions. When you first
Yeah.
did the bit turn, the first bird,
Yeah.
you did something I hadn't seen before, and I'm wondering if you can compare when you're at the black and whites, you did an option click, which I haven't seen before. I
Yeah.
usually do a shift click.
Yeah.
What is the difference between the
Okay.
two?
Okay, so shift click is the automatic. It's a computerized value. It's what Lightroom thinks it can be. It's auto basically. Where option is I'm setting the black and the white point. And the subtle difference is what I call meaningful black. Sometimes you want to emphasize the black parts of your image, but Lightroom doesn't know what you want to do, what ideas you might have. So by doing shift uh, uh, black and shift white, it will put the tonal, it will expand the histogram to the numerical values of black and white. But that might not be your artistic visual expression. So you want to make the blacks blacker. Yeah, and you can do that visually by holding the option key and sliding those sliders to ignore parts of the image. So for example, underneath the trees, you might want to make them blacker because you want to draw the eye away from that area of the tree, or whatever. There's loads of reasons. So one is
Yeah.
more of an artistic, one is a more of a technical value, and there is no right or wrong way of doing it. It's what is your choice. And you might say, oh, an automatic, because a lot of times I'll hit auto as a part of my editing workflow. What does it give me? Well, that's never thought of editing like that. Oh, right, okay. I'll save that as a snapshot, but I'll come back because I've got another way that I think I'm going to do it. Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
tool. There's several ways that we can use a tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people use a hammer to whack in a screw. We'll use a screwdriver over here. Or they use a wrench to, an adjustable wrench to bang a nail in. You can do it, but is it designed to do that? It's a point of view. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any questions about tone curve? Deadly silence. Okay, so we looked at colors, introducing colors in the tone curve with the red, green, and blue channels. Adding that color, taking it away. So you taking it away, you're adding the opposite color. Okay, all right. So that's what you're doing in the tone curve. You're adding red, or you're taking red away by adding cyan. All right. There are other ways to add or change the atmosphere of colors, and we'll look at it in a few weeks' time, the color grading. So that's applying a color to a tonal light range, so highlights, midtones, and shadows. But we're going to go on to the short now, and we're going to look at color mixer tool. So David, I believe, was talking about his greens are sometimes a bit more contrasty. Is that right, David? Bit saturated?
That's why I sent the bitten one, because it's difficult to get that
Yeah.
green right without affecting the rest of the picture, because you can't use the filters on it. It
Yeah.
won't do the greens.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. I'll have a look at that. I thought that was the reason why you had sent that. So I can press G for grid. Can I go into the color collection that I've called color mixer? So before we go on to David, so there's David's there. I'm just going to drag the image into the collection. Now it's the same image. Okay. It's not a virtual copy. Look at this image here. Can you see this image here is what we adjusted in the tone curve part. Now if I go here, okay, G, it isn't. Oops. It's a different image. So there it is there. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this one, just to show you the point, I'm going to make this one black and white. Okay, so this was probably an infrared picture that I took. All right. See, still color. Because it's a virtual copy, we go back. There it is in this collection. This is the original file. All right. There it is as a virtual copy. See the little bit turned over in the corner? That's a virtual copy. It's not an extra, it's only one file, but it's a different, I'm editing it. And you can have them in the same collection, but they're different edits. Okay. So that's why I've done that. So let's go to this image here. And we're going to go to the color mixer tool tonight. So there we go, color mixer tool. Okay. So we're going to use the point curve, which is the new modern way of using this tool. So I'm going to use the pipette and I'm going to select a color. I'm going to select this red here. So this is the red, and I've got a swatch here. I can, as I go around selecting the colors, they will appear here. And I can increase and decrease the value of the red. Okay. So there's the hue, increasing the color, decreasing the color. And I'm doing this globally, but it's affecting the colors around that red. Okay. How can I change the affected colors? Well, we have a hue range here. So I'm increasing, can you see that red in this box, this bit here, is the amount of red around the value of red, the actual precise red that I selected with the pipette tool. That red there that I selected, okay. All right. So, but I can decrease the value. So I don't want to affect other reds. Okay, so it's now much more finite. And I'm shifting. See, this red here is not being affected as much as this red here. Okay, and it's doing it globally. Okay, but I could do the saturation. Okay, of that red. I could increase the hue. I could increase the saturation range. Okay, and it'll affect the images differently. Okay, so I'm changing the colors. Luminance, how bright it appears. There's the range, and I can make it brighter or darker globally. And that's this point here. Okay. So, and you can go around choosing any color you want globally, and you can affect the hue, the luminance, the saturation. Okay. You can visualize the range. So in the old way of doing it, which was the color mixer tool, when you clicked use the little pipette tool or the tool, you hold the option key or the alt key and slid up and down, it would grey out the non-affected colors. Well, in the point tool, we have this visualize range. So you click here, and what you're adjusting is only going to be visualized. Okay, so if I want to increase the yellow brightness, there we go. Now I can see by turning it on and turning it off what is being affected. And that's your color picker tool. So let's go to David's challenging image, this one here. So what were you worried about, David?
It's difficult because I didn't want the blues to be too blue.
Yeah.
Because that's water.
Yeah.
I needed to lift the bird,
Yeah.
but I needed to create the reed to look real. And at the moment, it's just washed out.
Okay. So let's have a look and see what it does with select subject. Not done too bad. There's bits around here that I would go around and touch up. Okay. Let's go object selection and then use the brush tool. And then let's just see what this looks like just by doing it loosely. See if we ever find a selection. That's a bit better. Bit down here. So what we would then do is subtract and then brush and then just come in here with the auto brush I would zoom in and do this. I'm only doing this for speed and just tidying up around here. Is there a claw there? Yes, there is. Right. So that'll just do for speed for tonight, but I would spend a lot of time doing that. So the first thing I would do is I would rename. Okay. And then I would duplicate and invert. Okay, duplicate and invert and rename that and call that background. Okay, and the first thing I do, David was talking about separation. So I'm just going to literally, that's way too much, and that's only half a stop, minus 0.2. Oops. Undo. Let's go back to there. There we go. So minus 0.2. There we go. That's a bit better. So I've put some separation now with light. Let's have a look at 0.3. No, too artificial, that's to me. So 0.2. So it's not even a third of a stop of light, which is one click on your camera in exposure. Okay. 0.2. 0.3 is a third of a stop of light. So we haven't even gone that far. So you couldn't have made that separation in light in camera unless you did, because some cameras you can do quarter stops of light, you can rather than the third stops of light. So that's your background. I made a bit darker. Okay. Then I'd come back to the bird and perhaps 0.2, no, 0.1. Just bring, so now the background and the foreground, the subject, is one third of a stop separation in light. Okay. So now you were talking about the blues, yes, David?
Yeah.
So I would start with the blues. So I'm gonna, the blue, it's nice, it's virtually constant. There's my blue. Now what do you want to do, David? Do you want to darken it?
I would probably lighten it, but the trouble
Okay.
is it changes into sort of a magenta color.
Okay, no. So we're just going to lighten it by 3, plus 3. Right, let's go plus 10. There we go. Plus 10. I've just made that blue just a value of 10 brighter. That's all I've done. And what about the green, David? What do you want to do with the green?
Just want to give it a bit of life without it overpowering the picture.
Okay, so let's try. We're not going to change the color. That's the hue. Let's try 10 of brightness. And then let's just make it saturated a bit brighter, a bit more saturation. There you go. And that's done it globally. Now I want to go back to the mask, the background, and because I've made everything else brighter, let's just have a look at the full exposure. Let's go minus point. Did it again, hit the wrong keyboard button. There we go. So go back to the background, clicking there, minus 0.3. No, 0.2. 0.3 to me is too, it looks too artificial to me.
Washes out, yeah.
Right, so 0.2. But now let's try on the background only, bring the blacks down a bit. There we go. That's a bit better. No. Okay. Minus 20. Let's try that. Okay. Something like that. Not sure. This is where you start using virtual copies. Where do I want this to go? Where do I want that to go? Do I want to now bring in a vignette, a radial filter, something like this? Invert, duplicate, invert, bring down, something like that. Then go back to my bird. To make that 0.15. Tab, L, L, Y, before and after. Yeah. There's some separation, some brightness, some background. It's a point of view. It's a taste.
Yeah, the vignette's too dark now, but I see where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you haven't even lifted the shadows on the bird or anything like
No,
that.
I've done no editing to the bird. This is all global.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is all global. This is right. Could literally do could do loads of things locally with it. Yeah, I haven't even locally, done anything to the bird. So
Yeah.
D. Right, so bring my tabs back. Let's go back to the subject. I'm going to duplicate that. So I'm going to do this independently. I'm just going to duplicate the bird, okay, the mask, and now I'm just going to perhaps try and open up the shadows a bit. And the reason why I'm doing it independently is that I can adjust that mask. And if I don't like the mask, I can take it off. Okay. So let's look at my texture. Maybe a bit too much. Yeah. Don't know. Editing is such a personalized effect. Yeah. Too dark. Yeah. That help you, David?
Yeah, yeah, yes, it does. You've shown me a different way of, sort of working on it. So, um, yeah, I think without the vignette, I think it would be definitely going in the right
Right.
direction. Yeah, got
Yeah.
it.
So if I take so I can take the vignette off. Right, so I've just clicked on the eye. It's left it there, but I'm not showing it.
Yeah,
Right. Before and after. And remember, there's post-crop vignette, there's radial vignette, but there's also vignette on your sensor. Okay, so so there's another vignetting. If you come down to your lens panel, it's under lens correction, vignette here, and that vignette's the whole sensor. Okay, so it does it at what you captured, this vignette does. Okay, so I'm affecting it here. It's only affecting the sides. See that?
yeah,
Yeah, it's not affecting the top and bottom. But if I go to effects, it's called post crop. I've cropped this image. Now it's going to do the corners. Yeah. But 9 times out of 10, I will do a mask. Okay. And because I cropped it after I did the mask, I've now got to adjust that now. Okay. So go into my mask, go to my tone side of my, all right, because the crop has changed. All right. Remember, you can go positive and negative. Add light, remove light. The brighter the subject is, more that you're going to look at it. The darker the subject is, you have to look at it. There's a subtle difference between looking at something and then having to look at something. Okay? And that's the eye of the photographer to look at an image and then scan the image. So what's in focus? What's the depth of field? Yeah, what's the brightest part of the image? The brain and the eye will immediately look at that. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes when we look at images, things in the foreground are out of focus. The brain disregards those and you go straight to the subject. Okay. And there we go. Let's just see if there's another. Let's show you this tool here. Something like that. Let's show you on this the color. So if I go to the color mixer tool here, pick a color, this yellow. Increase the vibrance of the yellow. It's affecting the orange as well. If you look at these two here, it's the associated colors. Okay, it's doing it subtly. Increase the brightness. You can see it's increasing that brightness, but only on the yellow. Okay, with the range, what is the range of the luminance? So I'm taking some darker yellow. Okay, all right, just affecting the color. Change the color. Change the tonality of the yellow. Yeah, look here, yeah. Okay. You can affect more colors. All right. Use the pipette, click on the red. You can increase, decrease the red. And this is globally. Okay. You can do the same the old way, the mixer way, with the sliders locally, so you can select an area. So if I go here, select with brush, make the brush a bit bigger. Oh, didn't turn on that. Undo. I go brush. Let's go object brush. Let's see if this will select just that area. Nearly. Let's go add. Add brush. And then down. Bit smaller. We can get that right in the corner there without going over the line. There we go. That'll do. Right, so I'm just selecting this area. And now, if I want to change color, saturation of the color, change the hue of the color. Okay. Change the temperature. That's the color of light upon the subject. Okay, the tint. I've changed it to a green. And I want to desaturate the green. So now I'm just doing it locally. Okay. And then we have the color point tool, which is exactly the same, but we're doing local. So we're going to do this one here. Okay, we can do it on a mask. We can change this color within a mask. Okay, exactly the same. Depends on which way you want to do it. Okay. Reset everything. Anyone, any questions about that?
No.
No? So there we go, tone curve and color mixer. Different ways of increasing your light. The tone curve is a lot more precise than the sliders in the basic panel. When I say precise, you can actually choose a particular area. You can use it locally and globally. So, yeah. Use it sparingly, use it. Small adjustments. I see so many images, and I'm guilty of it in the past. And when I say the past, you know, my palette of visual effect changes as my opinions change. And I look back at images that I did a year ago and go, crikey, did I really? That was so saturated. That was so that. And now, you know, my tone, my palette, like my alcohol that I don't really drink, but when I do drink, has changed. The palette has changed. Heather and I have something in common. We both like brandy.
That's true.
Okay, so there we go. Tone curve and color mixer.
Hmm.
Anyone, any questions about that? see if there's anything in the chat. No. No. Okay, so has anyone got any questions they need help with, any challenges in Lightroom Classic this week?
I've got a brief one,
Yes, David.
which you mentioned when I was looking at the playback yesterday. Stacked images,
Yep.
the sequence. You
Yep.
can change the sequence. Can you just
Yep.
run through that briefly?
Let's see if I can simulate that for you. Basically, when the stack is there, you can just click, hold, and drag.
Okay.
You can move the image around, and you can put the title, whatever the first image is on the stack. So let's say you've got an HDR or something, and you want the HDR in the stack, so you include it into the stack. So let's go back. Does everyone know what a stack is? Yeah, no, okay. So you've taken a high dynamic range image. Yeah. So you've got 3 stops underexposed, 2 stops underexposed, 1 stop on the average exposure, yeah. So you've got 9 images, let's say, okay. Well, rather than having 9 images, I wonder if I've got anything in here. Let's have a quick search. Right. So this is the panoramic image. But you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images, yeah? What you can do is go right click, stack, put them into a stack. And a stack will stack them together. Okay? So split stack, collapse stack. See, they're all put into a stack. Oops. Undo. Where's it gone? There they all are. All right. So they can put them into a stack. Let's just take that out of here. Let's find them. All right, so here we go, 1 of 6. Okay, that's 1 of 6 images. So go here, unstack. There are the 6 images. Okay, so I've got virtual copies here. So let's put a filter on. Attributes, master images, which is there. There you go. So there are your images, okay? So that makes your panoramic. There's your panoramic. And you see I'm just moving them around. That's your images to make that panoramic, yeah? You can go right click and group into stack. So they've put them on top of each other in like a stack of playing cards. So you go back, unstack. Okay, that takes them out of a stack. But when you stack them, so go stack, group into stack, you can expand stack. So that expands it, and you can say, right, I actually want to put a different image on top. That's the top image now. Okay, I can move it out. So what Davey was talking about was what image, when you collapse them, what image is on top? Okay, so if I expand the stack, expand stack, so there it is. Now let's unstack. So there's no stack at all now. Now I'm going to stack them all, but include the panoramic. Stack into a group. So they're now all stacked together. You see, they're not cluttered up the screen so much. But now I'm going to expand the stack. So they're still in the stack, but I've expanded it. And I want to put this one at the front. Okay, so that's now at the front of the stack, which is what David asked. And now collapse stack. That's the title image, not the individual images. Okay, David?
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So you can do that. I've only got a panoramic in this catalog to show you, but you could do it with HDR. You could do it with focus stacking, where you're stacking the images like a pack of playing cards, and the title image is the image that's on the top. You just move that to the front of the stack, And when you collapse the stack, so you're saving screen real estate, you've got the title image on top, which is in this case the panoramic. It's telling you there's 6 images in there. Go right click, stack, expand stack. There's the images. And these are the ones that are underneath. They're second card, second, fourth, third, fourth, fifth, sixth cards in the stack of your cards. These are images. And it's a way of tidying up your visually what you're seeing. There's the image that I actually want. The ingredients to make that panoramic are stacked underneath it. And that's what it's for.
Is there anything to unlock the way that you can move those around, or can you just do that anyway?
Down the bottom in sort, in the grid view, where it says
Yeah.
sort, but capture custom order.
Okay. Yeah.
And if you're doing it, if you're syncing it in a collection to the cloud and Lightroom, that has to be in custom order as well. So Lightroom on your phone, on your desktop, on a web browser, has to be custom order to respect the custom order that's in Classic. So both of them have to be custom order.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, understood.
what that means is what you see in Classic is the same as what you see on your phone, or you see on a tablet, or you see on a web browser, or you see on a laptop using Lightroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Any questions?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I put this image into a club competition, and the judge, one of the comments the judge said was that it was lacking highlights and to check out my histogram because it was flat on the right hand side.
Yep.
How would what would I do to change that?
So you get to the highlight slider and move it to the left. What I believe the judge is referring to is you've blown the image out. There's no detail in the brightest part of the image.
Right.
Okay. So film, we didn't have to worry about that. We had to worry about the shadows with film. Digital is totally opposite. We have to worry about the highlights. And you may have heard the term called blinkies. So no? Okay. So when you take a photograph, most cameras by default, electronic cameras, will have highlights turned on. And when you look at the picture on the back of the camera, it will blink, it will flash.
Ah, right, okay.
And that's blinkies. Let's see if I can quickly simulate. Right. Let's see if that's going to do it. You see on the cat, see it flashing?
Yeah.
That's my light up there. What's happened is the camera has been blown out. It's too bright. So it's flashing at you, blinkies are flashing, telling you that part of the image is blown out. There is no detail in there whatsoever. So what I would have to do is reduce my exposure, either by increasing my shutter speed or by reducing my aperture. So making f22, so less light goes in. And that would make it darker. That would then record the details in the shadow. I haven't blown it out. To give you another example, you may have done this as a child. Put a flashlight in your torch and I've gone all blinded for a second. Yeah. Don't recommend anybody doing that, but that's the same thing. That's what you're doing to the camera. You're blinding it with too much light. Yeah. So what I believe the judge is referring to is there's no details in the highlight. You've overexposed. And what you can do is there is on a lot of modern cameras these days, you can have what they call center weighted highlight protect. So in your metering mode, so I go to metering mode, most cameras come out of the factory. Default is either matrix metering, 3D metering. What that basically means is the camera, the computer, the chip in the camera looks at every single pixel on your sensor and takes an average.
Right.
Okay. But there is a setting which I use now a lot of time called center weighted highlight protect. And what that allows you to do is where you're focusing on my face, the camera will meter for my face. So I get the correct exposure for my face. Disregards everything else with one proviso. It does not blow out the highlights because cameras and digital is very good at increasing your shadows. We've got great noise reduction these days. So the things that are slightly dark in your sensor on your image, we can make brighter. But the things that are blown out, that are bright white, that is we can't do anything with at all unless we replace the pixels, i.e. put a new sky in or something like that. Yeah. So what I think the judge was referring to is there's no detail in the highlights.
Highlights.
So you either, if there is, and you haven't developed the image in post-processing, what you can do easily is just bring the highlight slider down in the basic panel, and all the bright parts of the image will make it darker. Or you could use the tone curve and the top right-hand section, bring it down on the
Yeah.
right column, bring that down. That will bring the bright parts of the image down in brightness. Okay. But if you've got to the point where it's that bit of the picture's flashing, or the right-hand side of the histogram is straight up like this, there's no detail at all in it.
So there's nothing you can
Right?
do
So there's
now.
nothing you can do with it apart from take it into Photoshop and do some replacement, replace the
Right.
pixels, sky replacement tool, etc. We'll look at that in a few weeks' time, sky replacement tool. So yeah, so I now use, whilst I have legacy, I've always used the 3D matrix metering. And it's used 3D metering, matrix metering. There's lots. I now use center weighted metering with highlight protect. So whatever I'm focused on, that's the correct exposure, what the camera has said. Everything else is slightly darker because it's not going to overexpose for the brightest part of the image. So you can say, oh, I am 60 of the second f4, whatever I've told it to do, yeah? And this ISO, and it will then tell me what I need to adjust, if I need to adjust anything, to make sure that my highlights aren't overexposed. Or I could put it on auto ISO and it'll do it for me. Yeah. So, and bearing in mind, if you shoot mirrorless, what you see through the viewfinder or on the screen is what you are capturing. You can turn that off, but as default, most cameras, what you see is what you get. So if you see an image that's really, really bright in one part of the screen on a mirrorless camera, you're probably overexposing it. So increase your shutter speed, decrease your ISO.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Auto ISO is very good in certain situations and with certain settings. So in auto ISO, which I use occasionally, I put a maximum ISO. Depending on the camera, it'll be 3,200 or 6,400. That's the maximum ISO it will go to. No problem at all. So I don't have to worry about ISO if I'm in a fast action area. Then I'll put, depending on what I'm photographing, a minimum shutter speed. So if I'm doing racing cars, minimum shutter speed will be 250th of a second. Okay, because they're whizzing past me at 150 mile an hour. But reason why is because I will track the pan with the subject, and I want that nice blur in the background as I'm whizzing past the images. So and it will help me. The camera is a tool to capture the images, right? And I'm the person instructing the camera what to do. I have this creative vision in my head. I'm using the tools just like a carpenter, a chef would use the tools. They know how to slice whatever the ingredient is using whatever knife. And that's the same principle I have with cameras. Yeah. I love my ZF, my Nikon ZF, that I use whole frame, eye detection, auto ISO, f8, 250 the second, walking along with it at my hip with 35mm 1.8 lens. The camera will lock on to people's faces, and as I'm just walking down the street, going, and everyone is pin sharp in focus because the camera is using the instructions I've given it. It's locking onto the subject, onto the face, looking for the eyes, and boom, 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 boom. And 8 out of 10 will be pin sharp, face in focus. So learn your camera, I suppose, the trick. I think Thomas asked, I'm a Nikon photographer for my sins, Thomas. I always have been. I have other brands. I have some Fuji, but that's the Instax system. I have Polaroid, I have Hasselblad. Um, I have a couple of old Fuji Texas Leicas, so the 619s. I've got Arca Swiss plate cameras, got a Linhof plate camera, but I'm a Nikon photographer for my sins. I mainly shoot full frame, so I've just sold my Z9 because I want the Z9 too. I'm thinking about selling the Z8 because I want the Z8 too. But it depends if there's any more pennies in the bank. But I went to Normandy last year and I took my big 45-litre rucksack, and I like traveling by train and by boat. Um, and it was very heavy to carry all the kit that I wanted. So I already had the Nikon Z30, which was an upgrade from a mobile phone, a bigger sensor, crop sensor. And the only reason why I like Nikon is their crop sensor is still 3x2. So it's a 1.5 crop rather than Canon 1.6, and there's nothing wrong with Canon. I just prefer the 1.5 because it's a 3x2 aspect ratio. So the shape, for those that didn't see the crop short, can have a look at the YouTube recording. The shape of your image and then size of your image, they're two different things. And the crop sensor in this camera and the crop and the sensor. So this is my ZF. This is full frame. That's a crop sensor. That's smaller. I don't know if you can see that. That's a full frame sensor. It's 35mm. The shape of the sensors is identical. This one is slightly smaller than this one. It's what they call a 3x2 aspect ratio. So when I'm looking at the content, the shape is the same to start with. And that's important, especially when you do exhibitions, which I regularly do. Um, so um, so I'll bring this long story very, very short. I went to Normandy for 2 weeks, absolutely had a wonderful time, great people, great narrative, weather was brilliant, sunrises were absolutely superb, but the down of the whole trip was I took this, I have a principle, one suitcase, one rucksack, all my gear in one rucksack. Well, I took a load of full frame kit and it was just too heavy. The experience of going on the public transport, the bus and so on, which was absolutely brilliant, but it was taken away from all the weight that I was carrying. So I have invested in some crop sensors. So I have a Nikon Z52, this is, with a 24-70 2.8 on the end of that. That's my camera. That's it. That does 90% of my images. Then I have the Z30. That's the same camera, but no viewfinder. That's my video. But because they all take the Nikon ZF, oh sorry, the Z mount, I can fit any of my lenses on there. So I have a 12-28, which is a power zoom for video, 24-1.7, and they're all Nikon. And then I bought a 7 Artisan. I do buy other manufacturers. This is a fisheye. This shoots 210 degrees, so it shoots back So you get this V shape out the back of the lens. I'll try and smoke something like that. So it shoots all the way around there and all the way around there. So you get this, you're slicing a cake of the world. And the images and video you can get with a fisheye, I've got a full frame version of it over there. And they're only about 150 quid. You can see it's a bulbous. Can you see it's a bulb lens? Absolutely brilliant. You get really, really close to your minimum focus distance is like 6, 7 centimeters with this. Get really, really close, and you can fill up your subject. Um,
And you get your feet in there as well.
yes, yes, you're totally right, David. You have to lean forward a little bit.
Yeah.
And even see, this is the other thing you say. I'm getting into a gear nerd now. I've put that now on my film camera, or I can put it on my photography camera. Holding that like that, my knuckles will be in the shot. So you have to hold it like that. But the shots that you can get, there's my little professor. That's Charlie, my professor at university. I can really put him that close to the lens, but everything around him will be in the picture. And that's what fisheye is used for. Getting really, really close to your subject, but everything else in the shot. Yeah. Getting a panoramic in one shot. Boom. Then trimming it 16:9. Absolute brilliant. A lot of manufacturers don't make panoramic fisheyes these days, so you have to go third party. But I've got the 7 Artisan. This is a 6mm. I've got the full frame, which I think is a 10mm. They're metal. They're about £150. Absolutely brilliant. Sorry, Thomas, long answer to your question.
I was just curious what brand has what you're calling blinkies.
All of them do.
I'll have
I
to look
like,
at. I'm shooting Sony, and I typically have the histogram on the back
yeah.
To catch if I'm blowing anything out. I wasn't
Highlight
aware of.
warning, highlight protection. There'll be
Yeah, I'll have to
different
take a
names.
look.
I call it blinkies because that's what it's doing. In the
Yeah.
in playback mode, it's called um, highlight warning or something like that. Different manufacturers call it different things and so on, but generically we call it blinkies. Or I've always known it as blinkies. Everyone calls it blinkies over here. So, but yeah, in the playback option menu, you should be able to toggle it
Yeah.
on, show blink, and it'll do that. So yeah, so that's Nikon. Um, who's Canon here? Anybody? Have they got that on theirs? David, you're
Yes.
Panasonic, yeah, and John's got it. Yeah, John's got it. So I'm not of aware. There probably is cameras that don't do it, but always been on all my cameras. So it might be just the functionality that you turn on, but it's only in the playback mode. When you press the play button, it'll blink. Went off topic there. I do apologise. Anyone else? Any questions? No? Yes? Okay then. Next week, we're going to answer a question I keep getting asked. Should I use Classic or should I use Lightroom? So we're going to look at the two different apps and I will pass my opinion on what I think we should do. And it hasn't really changed. So people that know, so Mr. Wilkinson, Mr. Weeks, Joan, etc., hasn't really changed. But it's nice to see that Adobe is addressing some of the concerns I had when changed. And I don't think I will change, but that's just because I'm old and grumpy and don't want to relearn everything again or change everything again. which is why I didn't move when Nikon were very late to the mirrorless market. Sony and Fuji and Canon were there very, very quickly. But I didn't have the brain power to retrain my muscle memory. And that's my concern with fully moving to Lightroom. I'm grumpy, grey, old and git, and everything is muscle memory to me because I've been doing it 20 years in Lightroom, nearly. So, but I'm gonna explore the different, what Lightroom Classic is, what Lightroom is, what Lightroom Mobile is, what Lightroom Web is, where you could use it within your workflow. That's if you do that type of thing. So, and I'll answer which one should you use, Okay then. Well, if nobody's got any more questions, we'll leave it for tonight and I'll get the recording done at some point tomorrow. And Heather, I'll see you at 5.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank
Okay
you, Mark.
then.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Thank
Take care,
you.
everybody. All the best.
Thank you.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
You